What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and welcome to another episode of Versus. If you don't know what Versus is, it's a series where we, generally speaking, put two weapons head-to-head, or sometimes other things, to see which one is better and make you a better Call of Duty player. Today is going to be a little bit different, though. We are looking at two weapons, but these two weapons are launchers. So we are looking at the Max GL, which is kind of like the remake of the China Lake or Thumper from old Call of Duty games, versus the L4 Siege. Now, both of these two weapons are very different and good for different things, and that is what we are going to look at in this video. It's not necessarily going to be which one is better than the other, it's going to be which one is better in certain situations. Before we get into the stats and look at which one of these weapons is actually better, write down in the comment section below which one of these weapons you think is going to win this episode, and give me a brief description of why. So let's start by looking at the stats for these two weapons, and probably the most important stat is going to be the damage. So the damage for the L4 Siege is going to be 72 damage, which means the explosion itself is going to deal 72 damage to an enemy, whereas the Max GL is 140 damage. So obviously this is much better for the Max GL, and for that it's going to get +1 point. So that is the damage profile for these two weapons. However, that's probably not the most important stat on these. What is the blast radius. So the blast radius is the actual size of the explosion. So, for example, for the L4 Siege, you are able to deal the 72 damage if one of your explosives hits 3.125 meters away from an enemy, whereas the Max GL, you are able to deal that 140 damage if the explosive hits up to 5 meters away from the enemy you are shooting at. Basically, what this is saying is the Max GL has a larger explosion than the L4 Siege, and for that, it gets 1 more point and extends that lead. The next thing we're going to look at is the amount of explosives that each weapon has. For example, the L4 Siege, you spawn in with 4 rockets, and you can fire 4 rockets without reloading, whereas the Max GL, you start with 2 explosives and you can fire 1 without reloading. Obviously, this is better for the L4 Siege and is going to get +1 point because of that. But not only that, there's actually another reason why this is a really big deal, and it has to do with a perk called Scavenger. Basically, Scavenger, when you kill someone, they drop a scavenger bag and you are able to pick it up and it gives you more ammo. This also works for launchers in Black Ops 3. If you kill someone and then pick up a scavenger bag while using the L4 Siege, it refreshes all of your rockets. You pick up 4 more rockets and you have 4 more rockets to fire. However, with the Max GL, if you kill someone and then pick up a scavenger bag, it only gives you 1 explosive, which means you are getting less from scavenger bags for the Max GL than you are getting for the L4 Siege. And that's actually a pretty big deal, especially if you're planning on using the launchers frequently. So for that, once again, the L4 Siege gets +1 point and ties things up. The next thing we can look at is reload speed, the amount of time it takes for you to put the explosives in the weapon. So for the Max GL, you are looking at 1.5 seconds reload speed, which is pretty good, but you got to remember you are only loading 1 explosive into the weapon, whereas for the L4 Siege, it's going to reload in 5.1 seconds, assuming that you have fired all of the rockets out of it. What this means is it's a lot longer of a reload speed for the L4 Siege. However, with the L4 Siege, assuming that you have all 4 rockets already loaded in the weapon, you won't have anything to actually reload. Or if you do, you are loading 4 rockets into your weapon instead of just 1 for the Max GL. I'm not going to give out any points for this because it's not actually often you reload the L4 Siege. And on top of that, if you do, you are reloading many more rockets than you are for the Max GL. The next thing we can look at is sprint out time, and the sprint out time for the Max GL is 0.25 seconds. That's the amount of time it will take you to go from sprinting to actually firing a bullet, or in this case, an explosive, and the L4 Siege is 0.3 seconds. So obviously a little bit better for the Max GL, and it's going to get +1 point for that. Similarly with the aim down sights time, the Max GL aims down sights in 0.25 seconds, whereas the L4 Siege does in 0.35 seconds. Obviously, that is better for the Max GL, and it's going to get +1 point. But this is where we're going to go ahead and look at something a little bit different. What is the L4 Siege actually good for? One of the things that not a lot of people may know is it's amazing for taking out the safeguard robot, because one thing that the L4 Siege has over top of the Max GL is it can lock onto targets. So if you lock onto a safeguard robot, fire all 4 rockets and all 4 hit, it is going to take out half exactly half of the Safeguard's armor. However, if you go and use the max GL on a Safeguard robot, it does next to nothing to the Safeguard robot. It takes a little sliver away, assuming you actually hit both of the explosives that you have for the max GL. So I know it's a very specific thing, I know it's only for one game mode, but for that I'm gonna have to give out a point to the L4 Siege simply because it's that much better than the max GL. On top of that, another obvious thing that the L4 Siege is much better at than the max GL is taking out kill streaks or score streaks, whatever you want to call them, because it can actually lock onto them. Whereas if you're trying to take out a score streak with the max GL, first of all, you can't lock on and it doesn't do as much damage as the L4 Siege does. Therefore, the L4 Siege is better at taking out score streaks, gets +1 point, and ties things up, which is actually pretty surprising to me. So basically, it comes down to this. The L4 Siege is better at taking out the Safeguard objective and taking out any score streaks, whereas the max GL is better at taking out infantry, taking out your enemies, or taking out soldiers. So it comes down to, what do you want your rocket launcher for? Do you want your rocket launcher to clear out a room of enemies or clear off the B flag in domination? Then the max GL is probably for you. However, if you want your launcher to take out kill streaks, score streaks, or if you're playing Safeguard to take out the objective, then the L4 Siege is definitely for you. Basically, it comes down to what you're going to use it for. So guys, that may not have been the finale to that you wanted, but it should clear up any questions that you have about these two weapons. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, it would be very greatly appreciated if you could hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, I upload new Call of Duty videos every single day of the week, so if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, peace out.
We are